Hey guys, Jack Spirko here along with Charlie Daniels. You're going to have to go, buddy, because you're breathing in the microphone. I'm titling this video, An Honest Question from a Friend. And as I start off, I realize in our world today that when you say somebody's a friend and you're doing an online video, you probably need to be specific as to what you mean. So when I say this man's a friend, I mean that he knows my work. He actually met me through the podcast, but we're friends as in when he asked me this question, we were hanging out having a drink on my back porch. This is a friend in the real world, probably one of the closest friends that I had. And he was asking me about videos. And recently I've done a series of videos about getting out of the city and civil unrest and things like that. And one of them got like 40,000 or 60,000 views or something like that already. But at the time he was over here having a drink with me, I think that video was only like 2 days old and it already had like 15, 20,000 views or something like that. And, I'm a podcaster, so most of my audience listens to audio content on, an iPhone or something like that. I poke around with YouTube. I don't do a lot of videos. So for me to get that kind of a response to the video is pretty big. I do put out a lot of video though, but it's sporadic, and it's all over the map. And it's probably why I think my YouTube channel has like 40,000 or 45,000 subscribers. But after 12 years with the level of work that I've put into my life as a content producer, you would think that I'd have a channel with, a couple 100,000 or so. But it's because my primary function is to do audio podcasting. I do 5 podcasts a day. So I have mixed results with videos. But it seems like, and this is where his question came from, it's a very sincere question, and I figured that a sincere question and an intellectual discussion called for a beer with you guys, and I figured maybe a good beer. I've been saving this one for a long time. This is a fantastic beer. It's called Dragon's Milk Reserve. It's a raspberry hibiscus bourbon aged imperial stout. And it is stout, it's 11%. And we're gonna have this beer together and we're gonna talk about this question. So anyway, I put that video out, and on the same day, I put out a video on one of my hydroponic systems, and it was my indoor hydroponics farm. It's a 4-foot by 2-foot footprint. It could be in anybody's garage or even anybody's apartment. And it can feed a family of 4 to 6 people all the salad that they could ever want to eat. If you built a half of it as an apartment dweller with either a couple or an individual, it'd be all you need. And that video had been put out and it had gotten like 800 views. So you got this one video like 15, 20,000 views or something like that, and you got this other video with 800 views. And the question my friend asked was, do you ever get discouraged? Do you ever get discouraged when you put out a video that could literally improve the lives of every American who watched it and did anything with it? If they took 10% of it, it could make their lives better. And you put out a video about all of this hatred, the screaming, the yelling, the nonsense that's going on in the world today, the violence, and it gets 15, 20,000 views in the same period of time. This thing gets like 800 views. Does that ever discourage you? Boy, that's a drinking question, isn't it? It really is. Many of you know that I'm really fond of answering questions with, it depends. This isn't really an it depends question, though. It's a pretty point blank yes or no question. Does it get discouraging? And the answer to that is yes and no. Let's start out with why it is discouraging. I've been doing what I do now for 12 years. And I've been doing what I do now for most of my life. But I've been doing it as a content producer, as someone trying to help other people for 12 years. I've built a podcast that's become one of the top philosophy podcasts on iTunes. It gets about 250,000 downloads a day. I have an audience for my podcast that's larger than a lot of significantly sized cities in the country. There's a lot of people that make a living on terrestrial radio that don't come close to reaching as many people as I do every day. And unlike people on terrestrial radio where you have kind of this box that people are in, that they only have so many channels on the dial, a podcast is something people have to choose. So dedicating so much of your life for so long and sharing everything that you do. I mean, I have no personal life that's not known, really, right? People know the names of my wife, my grandchildren, my pets like Charlie Daniels, and they know the names of some of my livestock, for God's sakes. I don't make a big advertisement about where I live, but anybody that really wanted to find where I live could find it, and has been able to do so since I lived, 3 houses ago. And you do all that, and then you put something out where you're basically cussing and you're angry and you're ranting and you're telling people, honestly, I felt that first video in that series of videos about getting out of the cities was something that needed to be said. And I wasn't really saying it to new people, even though it worked out that way. I was saying it to my audience. And the one that I did on the Sunday morning, people that have followed me for years know I don't put out content on Sunday mornings. Not because I'm religious, it's just I believe in downtime, and I believe in taking time to myself and my family, and Saturdays are mostly for me, and Sundays are all for me and my wife, and if my kids are over or whatever, right? If I get up on a Sunday morning and I kind of stick my finger up and see the way the wind's blowing, and I come out and I do a video like that one, where I'm telling people, get the F out, and I'm using the actual word and all, it's because I believe it needs to be done. I'm not doing it for shock value. I'm not doing it for views. It just happens to work out that way. So it can be a little depressing because you do something like the work that I do with hydro. And yes, it does actually seem like, what the hell? Like, here's this, and it's not just that video. And I know he meant more, my buddy David who asked this question, I know he meant more by like, what's behind you? Like, I spent my whole life loving the outdoors, and I'm a hunter and I'm a fisherman. But if you made me pick, you can only have one of those activities in your life for the rest of your life. It would be fishing. And it would be that for a variety of reasons, but chief among them is there's not really a fishing season. One way or another, you can go fishing year-round, and it's more accessible, and there's a lot of places where you could never legally hunt that you can legally fish. And I think it's just a way to feed yourself and to be in communion with nature at the same time. So I've always wanted a pond. When I moved to this property, it's 3 acres. I thought, I'm going to put a pond in, and I even spent a whole bunch of money. I have a $7,000 hole that doesn't hold water I can show you because of the rock here. But it made me figure out how to do these Miyagi ponds, like this pond behind me. This is almost 5,000 gallons of water back here. And I've got fish breeding in it, and I've got the ability, if I want to have fish tacos tonight, to choose a species and know which one to toss a line in for. And I can pull a channel cat out of there or a couple big hand-sized, green sunfish or something, and I can provide that to myself. But as cool as that is, what really makes this so special to me is I can come out here at night when I go to put the ducks to bed, and I check on everything, and I go over there to my little pond that I built in the aviary, and I see Fred the frog hanging out. I shine the light at him. He's like, I'm going to run, man. It's like, dude, you don't have to run. I'm not coming in. You can hang out and eat bugs. I come back here, and I shine the light in the water here, and I see, baby red ear shell crackers. And I know only a year ago I put some babies in there about that big that I paid for, that I stocked. And now those guys are like this, and there's ones in there. I know they're babies that are spawned, because they're that big. They're half the size of the ones I stocked, and I've got that life going on. And I have all that, and I'm like, that's another example of something that people could take and build this in a backyard. And these gardens that go around it, and the way that, if you've seen the other videos, they each have their own microclimate based on shade and sun exposure and wind and all of that. And the trellises, and I realized, like, this right here, this area is I need to do the math again because I forget, but I think it's about 300 square feet. And it's not all in production because you have paths and stuff, right? But it's about 300 square feet. And I realized, like, this can feed my family. This right here can feed my family. And you put out video after video on everything about this, how to do this, how to make this, and you get a couple, 3,000 views. Maybe over time you get 20,000 views, but it takes months for that to happen. You put out a video about just the utter vulgarity in society today, and it does that in a day or two. Yes, of course that can be discouraging. And I guess it's probably a little more discouraging because I don't do it for the purpose of getting a bunch of views. You think I really care about the $15 of AdSense revenue I make off of that? Anybody that's followed me and knows, you know, the financial value of the TSP empire, you know, without being braggadocious about it, but just being honest about it. Charlie's back. Knows that $15 is not going to change my life at all. So what makes it a little less depressing is that I don't do it for that. Or make it more depressing is that I don't do it for that. I think if I did it for that reason, then it would be easier to be like, you know what, it is what it is. It's how I pay the bills or whatever. But there is a upside to it. I don't really care that, and I think I checked the one video that I'm talking about got almost 50,000 views at this point, since I put it out like a week ago. I don't really care about the view count, though. I mean, I didn't even think about it till David asked me this question. It was a very sincere question. He's a very thoughtful man. What I did care about is when he pointed that out, I went and looked it up, and at the time, I had gotten over 1,000 people had subscribed to my channel from it, and by now it's probably double that. That's a big growth for a channel with only, 40,000 views, or 40,000 subscribers just a few weeks ago, to grow to, 4,000 or 5,000 in total over the past couple weeks. That's good. On the other side of that, I know that a lot of people that subscribe, probably some people that are watching this video right now going, this is not what I signed up for, are going to tune out. They're going to go away. They're not, or they're going to subscribe, but they're not really going to watch. Because a subscriber and a watcher are two different things, man. They really are. You have to have a buttload of subscribers to get a significant number of watchers, right? So what really matters, though, is out of that 1,000 subscribers, maybe 100 will become watchers, and maybe 25 will become podcast listeners, and they'll become followers of the life plan. That's why I do this. There's some thunder back there. Hopefully we won't get rained out before I'm finished. This is one of these longer discussions. What I teach is lifestyle design. The reason the show is called The Survival Podcast is twofold. Number one is I am a prepper. It is something I love. It's something I believe everybody should be. I have been teaching preparedness long before I had a podcast. I spent a lot of my life in marketing and sales, but those aspects integrated into technology and business consulting. And even when I was a business consultant, by the way, I was actually a consultant to Donald Trump long before he was president. So I dropped that name only to point out this was actually a significant thing. It wasn't like you put business consultant on your business card. Like, I actually had legitimate, huge, giant brand clients. And I always made part of my consulting, not just here's how you get business, but here's how you protect it. Here's your survival plan for your business. Here's your continuity plan for your business. Because if you don't have that, you don't have shit, right? That's why PR firms make so much money, to come and emergency fix something when somebody screws something up. And I bet those guys are probably the actual reason for cancel culture is probably PR firms, because it creates a crisis that they can solve. So there's a certain number of people that when you bring them into the fold, will actually dig in to what you teach. So you got that preparedness component to the Survival Podcast. But the other reason that I called it that was in 2008, I was still as a marketing consultant and doing some other work. very cognizant of the fact that what you called something had a lot to do with whether it would succeed or not. And this was before Tim Ferriss took off and all. And if I would have called it the Lifestyle Design Podcast in 2008, it would have been a long road to 250,000 subscribers. It would have been a long road to the first 20,000. And once I had 20,000, I had a full-time business and I could walk away from that other shit. So I call it the Survival Podcast because it worked better. But what we teach is lifestyle design. You got the hook and then you got the set, right? So the hook is the Survival Podcast. The set is, let's teach you lifestyle design. And this is why it's not depressing. Over the years, I've done 2,720 odd podcasts now. And we've had certain milestones like episode 100, episode 500, episode 1,000, episode 2,500, etc. Someday, God willing, we'll have episode 5,000. I'm not ready to quit anytime soon. So unless something takes me out, like a lightning bolt from back there or something, we're going to keep doing this. But we did these landmark episodes. And I decided, like, instead of me running my mouth about how great we are, why don't we have the audience talk about what matters to them, what the community, and not just me, but what the whole community has done. Because there's so many communities and sub-communities. There's groups. There's the Zello channel. There was the forum back when forums were really still a thing. There's so many. There's communities built off of communities that I don't even know about, and people helping each other because they've connected through what we do. So it's like, well, call in and tell us how your life changed. With 2,500, episode 2,500, call in and tell me why I'm a jerk, because people started calling me a jerk. And the reason they called me a jerk was kind of funny. So years and years ago, I would say things like, pay off your debt, pay off your mortgage early. Get your life together. Get a preparedness plan. Have a generator. And I'm like, none of you are ever going to be in the future like, you know what, Jack? You're such a jerk. I paid off my student loan debts and I paid off all my other debt. And I don't owe anybody anything. And now I have all this stupid money in my bank account and my investments. And now I have a business and it's making me money. And now I can quit my job. And then the power went out and I have a generator. And you're such a jerk because my life is better. No one's ever going to do that. So people eventually started calling me a jerk for those very reasons as a joke. And I started doing the jerk segment on the show and whatever. And I read these quite humorous emails about it. And so episode 2,500, I said, let's just do that. Call in and say, Jack, you're a jerk because, and then tell me how your life's better. So we did these episodes, and in one of the landmark episodes, we had 5 hours and 40 minutes of people telling us how their life was better. In another one, we had like 3.5 hours. And here's the thing. I set up an 800 number for people to call these into. People got 2 minutes. Not everybody took 2 minutes, but people got 2 minutes. 2 minutes to tell me how what I've done and how what I've put in motion and what others have done to help them and the community has done to make their life just a little bit better. So do I get depressed when I put out a video that people could use to improve their lives and they don't use it? And then I put out a video about how bad things suck and people love it? Yeah, for about that long. And then I sit back and I look at this life that we've built. And I realize there's no other way in the world that a guy like me could have done this. I come from a small town in the coal country of Pennsylvania. A town full of coal miners and people that, they have two professions. They mine coal and they drink. That's it. And I guess now they do heroin. I haven't been back in a long time. I don't think I want to go. I don't want to see what it turned into. There's a bar on every corner. It's about as big as this garden. If I would have stayed there, I'd probably work in an aluminum factory or something right now and be a floor manager or something like that. I would think I have it made. There's nothing wrong with that. That's salt of the earth work. I don't mean that. Is it negative? Just, that isn't what I wanted. That isn't who I wanted to be. All I've ever wanted my whole life was to get up in the morning and not regret what would come in the next couple hours. To not be like, man, I got to go do this thing that I don't want to do. I got to go be with these people I don't want to be with. Even when I had made it, when I was successful, and I mean, really successful. I mean, there was a time I was the regional sales vice president for a company that did about $1 billion a year in business. And I was and regional, globally, I was the #1 regional sales VP in the world for that company. I made a lot of money. I had my own little kingdom. I was basically paid to go entertain clients, to yell at my sales reps once in a while, to demand paperwork, to do paperwork. But mainly my job was to go take really rich people out to really expensive places and buy them really expensive booze and food. I like really expensive booze and food. I'm not opposed to it. I like closing contracts for millions of dollars. There's a hunter component to that. Like sometimes I talk to my friends that still do work like that. It's like the only thing I miss is having that contract that you're trying to get done, and you're trying to close, and then you get the signature. And you're able to go back and tell a company that you work for, yeah, I just closed $40 million worth of business. You don't have to lay anybody off this quarter. There's some joy in that. But in between those moments of joy, there's so much fucking misery. There's so much dinners with people that, oh, this is going to be a great dinner, except I freaking hate these people. I don't want anything to do with these people. I don't want to be around these people. I don't like these people. They're not my people. There's waking up in the morning at 3 o'clock. Because damn it, now we live in Pennsylvania because I had to move to take this job, and I got to be in Hartford by 8. Northampton, Pennsylvania to Hartford, you got to be out the door in 30 minutes. And then go spend a day with people you don't want to be with away from your family. That was my life before I found this. And when I found this, I took everything I had learned. I didn't throw away that old life. I walked away from it, but I took all of the things I learned about sales and marketing and management, business. But along the way, I also never forgot my roots. I never forgot that even though I grew up in that small coal town with all the problems it had, that my grandfather taught me how to grow a garden. That my great uncle taught me how to hunt. That my uncle taught me how to not only put an arrow in a deer, but to track it through the woods and to find it even when it stops bleeding, because that blade of grass went that way and the deer went to the creek and there's some water. And even in the dark, when you shine the light low, you see the white of the belly. Like, all of that led to this. And when I found this as my calling, I realized something. Not only could I build it, I could give it to people. Not sell it. Not create some ebook that said this is your best life ever if you pay me $199 and write a long sales copy, which I could have done. And I probably could have made $250,000 a year off of a book like that. That I could give it away. That I could let people watch me do it and give it away. And I could build success on that. And that not only could I give it away, that people would actually take it and do it and pay me the biggest dividend they ever could pay me. Doing it and showing me that they did it. And when it first started, it actually got scary as shit for a little bit. I started getting these emails. You said this, so I did it. Holy shit. You know why that's scary? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I'm wrong? So I came up with a new catchphrase in addition to all the other ones. I reserve the right to be wrong, just to let you know that occasionally I could be wrong. But I said, come with me on this journey. Help me take this journey, and I'll help you take it with me. And I don't care about the fact that there's 250,000 people listening to my podcast. I don't care if I put out a video and several tens of thousands of people watch it. I care about the core, that when I put something out like that video David was asking me about, go, I can do this. I care about every single person in my audience, whether it's YouTube, social media, the podcast, whatever, that says, this week, Jack gave me one thing that makes sense for me in my life that I can do, and I'm going to do it. And they send me a video, or they send me a picture, or they send me pictures of their kids. Or since I got on keto, they send me pictures of themselves, and they go, you think you lost weight, buddy? Look at this. And I go, that person's not going to need a kidney transplant because of that. So yeah, maybe once in a while, I get just this much depressed. But then the dividends come in. And I realize that what I've built is what I'm trying to teach everybody to build. I've built an investment that has at this point so many dividends compounding on top of dividends, compounding on top of dividends, that I'll never see them all. I'll never see them all. I'll never know them all. I'll never know all the stories. That's okay. I planted an oak tree, and I watered it, and I took care of it, and I believed that that tree would grow. And it grew, and it turned into this massive tree with these huge outlying branches. And all these different things that we did, all these different groups and subcommunities are like different sections of that tree. But then the acorns fell. And a lot of them rotted. Those are 60,000 views. But for every 60,000 acorns that fall, a couple dozen picked up by squirrels, carried off. Some enterprising farmer comes by and goes, this is a good tree. Picks a few up. Makes a couple dozen new trees. And in its lifetime, that one tree makes tens of thousands of trees that make tens of thousands of trees that make tens of thousands of trees. And then on top of all that, I know, using a tree metaphor, we've actually caused over 1 million trees. That's being conservative to be planted in 12 years. We've caused over 1 million trees to be planted. We've caused millions of gardens to be planted. I know that because I know the person that planted a garden that was a listener that went away still planted a garden, and they're not here anymore, but they still planted a garden. I know that one listener who put up a business planting gardens has put in a couple 100 gardens for people who will never hear the show. Without the show, I understand all this. So if you're new around here and you stuck with me this long through this video, because I got to finish up because the phone's about to die on power. I should have charged it before I came out. Stick with me and go through all of the stuff we've done in the past. If you want to know something about how to make your life better, go to thesurvivalpodcast.com and start entering stuff in the search box. We've covered it all. We've covered so much that anything I talk about from here on out, I'll have probably talked about before. Maybe we'll do a little different. Maybe we'll do a little bit better. And I ain't complaining when I say that. I'm just telling you, there's so much we've already done. Sometimes I listen to my old shows and I go, I forgot I knew that. I don't get depressed when the bad gets more attention than the good, because I know a huge portion of the people that come in through that problem, they get in from the problem, they see the problem, they look at the problem, they say the problem can't be fixed. And then there's this one redneck hippie duck farmer who says, if you actually want to fix the problem, you can fix it, but you have to start by fixing it for you. Not for somebody a mile away, not for somebody 10 miles away, not for somebody 100 miles away, not by asking a politician to do it for you. You can do it in your own backyard. You can take that first step. You can plant that first seed. You can get that first customer. You can help that first person that needs it. You can set up your life so that it's resilient, so that it doesn't fall apart. You can do all of this if you're one of the few, the people that actually take action. And that number has grown over time to the point where now it's not really depressing anymore when people are more interested in the problem, because I know the first step in being willing to solve a problem is to be able to identify it, to see it, and to finally get so sick of it, you're willing to take upon your shoulders the willingness to do something about it for you, instead of make excuses about why somebody else would fix it. So thanks, David, for asking that question, and thanks to everybody that's been part of this journey for 12 years. We'll catch up with you later. I'm gonna hit stop on the camera. I'm gonna turn this chair around. I'm gonna look at what's behind me. I'm gonna finish what's left of this beer. I'm gonna go into my house. I'll upload the video and spend the rest of this night with the most amazing woman in the world, my wife. And no, I won't be depressed. Here comes the rain. Maybe I'm gonna sit here and finish this beer. We'll see. Take care.